Howdy friends, it's Guthrie Trapp coming to you here, as I like to say, from my living room in East Nashville, Tennessee. I used to do these videos upstairs in my music room, but it's more comfortable down here, and I like to invite you guys into my home, man, into my space here. So I'm just sitting here with my little little Princeton Reverb 1966 with a 12-inch speaker in it. I know people like to know what I'm using. My custom shop 335 from Memphis that they were nice enough to hook me up with after doing some videos with the great Jack Pearson. If you haven't checked him out, please do. He's one of our favorites here in Nashville. I gotta say, before we get started, as we YouTube guys apparently do here, check the links out below for my website and all the stuff that I do to make a living as a guitar player, my education stuff, the Artist Works curriculum that's amazing. My online, Skype lessons and private lessons here in Nashville, all that stuff's below in the links. Check that out. And looking forward to a fun week coming up. Got sessions tomorrow here with Dean Miller and some other guys, great friends of mine. And then head off to New Orleans for about 4 days on Tuesday morning for some meetings and stuff, for some more fun stuff coming up. Yeah, man, just, beating the heat here in Nashville. It's August, it's hot. Good time to be inside working on some guitar stuff. Constantly working on my stuff here as far as what I'm working on as far as playing is just trying to be as musical as I can. I'm working on what I'm working on personally is how to combine melody and the bass notes with chords and stuff. Stuff like this. Just where you're, some people might think that sounds sort of Eric Johnson-y or whatever. To me, it's just adding some kind of the harmony together, with the bass note and the melody note together, kind of this type stuff. Pretty simple, around the chord. I'm just messing around here, but that kind of stuff where I'm really just trying to be this term gets thrown around a lot, musical as possible, but it really is. You're trying to make music. What I wanted to talk to you about a little bit today was I'm going to kind of go back and cover some stuff that you might see in previous videos, but I really want to dial in on a couple things. First of all, the fact, this is going to get into triads and the importance of triads and how that is related to the guitar overall and how it lays out and all that stuff and how it relates to the cage system and how important all that stuff is. What I will say now is I think some guys are getting a little confused with the fact that when I say play out of the chord, I think they're thinking, well, hey, I'm holding this big chord down here. Now what do? All my fingers are locked into that. Well, it's not really about that. It's about seeing this big chord and all the key notes that are in that chord, and then your cage system is a beautiful thing because it's showing you those key notes in all the different inversions up the neck. But like when I get to this G shape, here's my D, here's my C shape D, there's my A shape, and then when I get to this G shape, that's a giant chord. Nobody on earth is going to play that whole chord. We just don't do it. We might play this or this part, but we're not going to play that big giant chord. But there's a lot of guitar in that space right there, in that shape. We've got this, and then the last part. So I'm skipping over this pretty quickly, but it's just the idea of it is you're not going to play that big giant chord. You might play 3 notes or the triad out of that, or you might play the Hendrix kind of stuff, where I'm working with 2 or 3 notes out of that shape. The point of this is to see the shape and see the key tones to where you know it inside and out. That is a fundamental of the guitar that you have to know, and I'll stress that till the day I die because it changed my whole life when I was a kid. So seeing these shapes and using those shapes. So it's the chord shape, and then it's the arpeggio around that, which are the key notes of the chord. So if I'm playing this shape, That would be the chord. The chord's the fundamental, the sonic backdrop, your tonal foundation is what I like to call that, right? Then the arpeggio is the next set of information. The key notes of the chord, 1, 3, 5. Then the next thing is the pentatonic. That's the next level of information is the pentatonic. Then the pentatonic is the next thing after the pentatonic is the scale. That connects your major. That connects your, all those key notes in the major chord, the D major chord, right? So and then as I get into this more in depth, that's D major. Okay, when we have the triad and we move the tonic back one step, that's how we build these simple chords, whether it's major 7, dominant 7, or minor. And I'm going to get into that right now. So the importance of learning these chord shapes and breaking it down into these triads is the key to everything for me, because and I think another thing that guys are kind of not connecting, I'm hearing, is the fact that it's learning the chords and these triads and these inversions up the neck. This is directly related to playing lead guitar. It's not separated. Chords and lead guitar are the same. It's directly related. You have to know these key tones of these chords if you want to break out of the pentatonic box. It's crucial. It's everything. To do what guys do that you like to hear and where you want to be, and me too as a player getting there, you got to know these chords. You have to know the basic chords and how to build these basic chords. It's directly related to playing lead guitar, and it's because the notes that you're targeting are the notes of the chord. It's like, to me, they're directly related. So when you change from D to, when you change from D to G, that's the 4 chord. You're still in the key of D, but you're having to outline G a little bit. When you go to A, when you go to B minor, if you go to the flat 7, C, you're outlining those chords a little bit, because that's what you want to hear. That's what makes it sound like you're playing over the chord changes, because you're playing the key tones, the tones of that chord, the 1, the 3, the 5. And again, when I talk about the 1, 3, 5, that's the degrees of the major scale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then 1. So those are really, really good fundamentals. I don't talk a lot about theory, but a little bit of this theory is really good, because it keeps you from getting behind, and you kind of start knowing a little bit more of what you're doing on the guitar actually. So when I'm going to get into some playing now. So when we talk about the triads, I'm taking this D-shaped chord here, or this C-shaped D chord, and I'm breaking it down into just this part, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to take this triad. We're just going to be on the E, B, and G strings. That's a major chord. I've got my 1, which is D, on the B string. My major 3rd is on the E string, F sharp, and then my A, my 5, is on the G string. That's a proper chord. That's a 1, 3, 5 major chord. So what happens is and to add to that, it's not about remembering. You don't really need to remember what those notes are, like F sharp, D, and A. It's more about the shape. Once you learn the shape, you're good. So when I take this D chord and I drop the 1 down a half step, I get D major 7, and that's a whole different sound. So, right, very pretty, very jazzy. So the major scale works over that chord as well. So, because that note, it's in the scale. So when I take, that's in the major scale. So when I take that 1 and I take it down a whole step, that gives me D7. Now I've got D7. So to outline D7 or any dominant 7 chord, which means I have a major third, but I have now taken one of the tonics and dropped it down to C. So I've got D7. So to play over that chord and outline that chord, now I have to alter the major scale to accommodate the change in tonality in the chord. So now I'm going to play the major scale, but instead of the natural 7, I'm playing the flat 7, and that sounds like this. Because we've taken this tonic and dropped it down a whole step. So the notes that you're playing reflect from the chord directly. So that's why, you know, it sounds like guys are playing over chord changes, because they are. They're targeting the notes that are changing in the chord. So if I'm playing D7, it's basically Mixolydian mode, but I call it the dominant 7 scale. It's the major scale with the flat 7 as opposed to this. Right? So the way we use that is if I'm playing over D7, you're not going to want to hear this. That note doesn't work. That natural 7. It works over your major 7 chord all day long. Because that note works. But when we take that note to there, you got to switch. So when you get that, you're outlining the chord. Right? So that's major 7, dominant 7, and then we have minor, which here, let's get back to this triad. When I take the major third of any chord and I drop it down a half step, I get D minor. So it's really important to start thinking about major 7, dominant 7, and minor, because that's your triad. That's how you build those simple chords, is using these triads. And when each one of those notes change, you're kind of tweaking your lead playing around those notes. You're using them to accommodate the chord that's being played. So the beautiful thing about this is the way the guitar repeats. You've got your D shape here. Well, if I go to G, there's my D shaped G chord, there's my D shaped A chord, and then back up. So if you learn it here, that's the beauty of the CAGED system, is you learn it in one key, and you pretty much know it in all keys. You've got those shapes that repeat themselves. So CAGED system is just everything to me. So you've got that triad. Now when I take this D chord, and now I'm gonna play the next 3 notes. So I'm gonna go from this triad. Now I'm gonna take this out of this shape. I'm now gonna take the 3 notes out of my B, G, and D string. Now I've got that triad, still a 1, 3, 5. It's still a major chord. But now my 1 is still on the B string. My 5 is still on the G string. But now my major third has come down an octave to this F sharp here. It's still the same notes as this, just moved to here. That's that different inversion, right? So now, when I move my 1 in this shape to get a major 7, I drop it down there to give my dominant 7, or you could do it here, because there's that shape. So same note, or here. Now my minor is going to be the major third, dropping down. So you're getting these the same chords, they're just different shapes because you're in a different inversion. So this inversion to this inversion, and then we're going to do this inversion. And that's, now my 5 is on the G string. My major third is still here on F sharp on the D string. Now my 1 has come down an octave from here to here. Now I'm just doing those 3 strings. Now my 1 is on the A string, so to make that major 7 shape, which you don't use that chord very often, but it's knowing where the notes are. So that's the whole point of this. So that's moving that down. One more. So we're moving the tonic down. And then the minor shape, I'm dropping that F sharp down to my F. So that's that chord. Now the last part would be on these low strings. That'd be your major third, your 1, and your 5. Now you can do it on these low strings. It gets a little muddy, but it's still good to know where the notes are. Now that would be like this. And then major would be still good to know. I don't do the low strings as much because I don't play down there with those because it does get a little muddy. Still good to know. So that's that chord. Now the same with this chord. We move up to the A shape. Now I've got this triad here. I'm going to build those simple chords out of that triad. So now my 5, we're out of this A shape, taking it into triads. My 5 is on the E string. My major third's on the B string. My 1 is on the G string. So here I go. Moving that tonic down, half step at a time. Major 7. Now dominant 7. And then the major third goes to my minor shape. So what you end up with is you start seeing your minor shape here, then your minor shape here, then as we move up to those other ones. Now that just repeated because I'm past the 12th fret. So you start to see how this is happening. You know, the triads up the neck and building those simple chords, you start seeing how these notes work together with playing lead guitar as well. So I'm not going to go through all these because it'll take a long time, but that's the thing, is the triads up to here, and then I'm going to go to this triad. Same thing. E string, B string, G string. Now the B string, G string, D string. Now we get that. Moving down 1. Same thing. We're just adding that 5 now is on the D string because we're playing out of that A shape. So that right there. Major 7, dominant 7, minor. Now it gets a little tricky here because now the last part of this chord is just a 1, 5, 1. So we don't have the major third. So that ends up being either here. The major third ends up being here or here, sliding up to the G shape. That triad kind of bleeds into the G shape a little bit right there. Otherwise, you're left with a bar chord here. So the triads are so important. Now going up to this E shape, I'm just going to pick these apart real quick. Here's the E string, B string, G string. Here's the major 7. The tonic's on the E string, the 5's on the B string, the major third, your strong major third's on the G string. So here we go. Right, and then here's your minor. So then the next triad, B string, G string, D string. Now the 5's on the B still, major third's on the G still, but the 1 is on the D. So now again, 1, one's going down, again, and then minor, and then here. So you start to see how these are working. And then another great exercise for triads, just on the E, B, and G string, is to take your D shape and then play the G shape out of this big chord. So you're going to go, I'm just going to do it quick one time. D, you're going to go D, G, A, or 1, 4, 5, repeating up the neck. Right? So you take D, G, A, to D again. Now G, we'll start on D again here. You've done D, G, A. Now D, G, A, D, G, A, and then D again. You can go up again. And then you go to the next triad, the next inversion, right? So then go here. It's all out of the same chord. We're using these big shapes. We're basically going. That one gets pretty high up there. But see what we're doing? We're basically playing G, or D, G, and I keep saying G, D, G, and A all the way up the neck. But we're taking these inversions, and we're going D, G, A, D again. Then G, A, D again. G, A, D, G, A, D. Then we go to the next three strings, and I hope you can see that. We're taking each set of three strings, but they're out of these big chords that we're learning, right? Oh, sorry. So then we go to the next three. Right? So we'll go up the neck. So as we see these triads and how we build these simple chords, we really start getting a good foundation of what is going on with the guitar. Because if I'm playing this, you can hear the chords moving. I'm going D to my G to my A. Right? So I'm with these triads, each triad I should be able to play over my 1, 4, 5, 1. Or if it's here, 1, 4, 5, 1. So adding more in there, of course, but I'm playing out of the chord. I'm playing out of all these triads linked together with, playing out of this shape to my G shape to my A shape, back to my D shape. So that kind of idea like that. So right there, go to my A. I'm arpeggiating right through the chord. I'm landing on the flat 7 of A to outline A7. So thinking resolving to that triad, because I can see it right there because I've worked on it and practiced what I'm showing you here. So right there, A7, resolving right back to D because I'm seeing it right there. Then to go to D7, right to my G because I'm seeing D, D7, there's my G triad. I'm going to outline that, right, because it's right there. So back to my D, to A, right down the scale. A7, back to my D, because I'm seeing that chord, I'm seeing that triad. That's all just taking the chords and breaking them down into the most minute parts you possibly can. The triads. Then we'll get into doing these other ones. I've done some of this, but I really want to get into this because this is like really breaking down the guitar. I know I didn't play a lot on this video and I talked a lot. Another guy commented on there. He said, "Man, you talk too much." I think he might have been from England or something. But anyway, so anyway, I just want to go through this. So this is the stuff that is going to make you a better guitar player. I'm a professional guitar player. I'm not a professor. I'm not a music teacher. I'm not somebody that's going to sit here and just tell you that you need to learn your major scales. Do you need to learn that stuff? Yes, absolutely. But I want to show you guys that, like, this is the stuff that me and my peers in Nashville used every day to navigate through the music that we're throwing and the music that we're writing and coming up with parts and soloing and playing fills and rhythm parts and all that stuff. This is what we use. These are the things that you really do need to know. And I'm just being honest. I mean, there are no shortcuts. You have to put the work in. But this is me giving you the knowledge that we've learned over 30 years of playing the guitar that I've learned. This is the stuff that works. I'm not showing you any fluff. There's no BS here. This is like what you need to learn to become a better guitar player and really be able to play the guitar. Again, I gotta say it because it's part of how I make my living. Please check out my music, check out my website, check out some of the photos, check out some of the fun that I've been having over the past 30 years of playing music and the stuff that's to come. If you want to book a private lesson, I highly recommend that because I can dial in to your individual style, skill level, personality, everything. I love doing the Skype lessons. They work great. Private lessons if you're in here, if you're coming to Nashville. I've done those for people all around the world. If you want to check out Artist Works, that covers everything I'm teaching it in depth with great professional camera work and audio and really broken down into like just really super in-depth professional curriculum. Other than that, that's my spiel, and on to the next lesson here. I'm going to New Orleans for a while, so it might be a couple days before I can get or I say a couple days, it'll probably be 4 or 5 days before I can do another video. Hope you get something out of this, and really, you know, this stuff's not meant to be overthought. If you sit down and practice your guitar, play like you normally do, have fun with it, but just think about a few of these things and just look at it a little bit. Maybe take 5 minutes of this video and check some stuff out. It's gonna help no matter what, even if you start thinking in that direction. Hey friends, thanks so much for all the positive comments. I hope to, you know, meet you guys in person. I've met a lot of people on here coming through Nashville and stuff, so don't be afraid to shoot me an email or something like that. And man, have a great week, and we'll see you guys soon. Thanks a bunch. See ya.